Hello. If you're listening to this story late at night, don't turn off the lights. And if it's daytime, don't rush. Some stories don't like to be hurried. For a long time, I wasn't sure whether I should record this at all. Not because I'm afraid. Fear has nothing to do with it. There are simply places that exist only as long as no one speaks about them too loudly. But perhaps silence is also a form of agreement, and that's something I'm no longer willing to accept. When people say the mountains are silent, that's not true. They simply don't speak to those who are used to hearing only themselves. We were on the road for a long time. The road slowly lost its shape. First the asphalt disappeared, then the markings, and finally the confidence that the map actually knew where it was taking us. The signal vanished long before the last turn, and from that point on we moved almost blindly, guided by old notes and the memory of those who had been there before us. There were 5 of us. We weren't tourists, and we weren't thrill seekers. Officially, we were conducting field cultural research, collecting oral traditions, fading rituals, words that were no longer used anywhere else. Unofficially, we were documenting things that would soon disappear along with the people who still remembered them. The village greeted us with indifference. A few houses stretched along a single road, a closed shop, a well with no one around it. People watched us from their windows, but no one came outside. There was no hostility in it, just a habit of not interfering. The house we rented stood at the very edge of the village. Beyond it, the forest began immediately. Not dark, not frightening, just too dense, as if the trees were holding on to one another. Inside, everything was clean and deliberate. Old rugs, a stove, embroidered towels. Nothing felt random. Even the dishes were arranged as if they knew where they belonged. That first night, none of us slept well. Not because of fear, quite the opposite. Because of an unsettling calm. The silence felt too thick. Any sound seemed unnecessary, as if we were disturbing an order that had been established long before we arrived. In the morning, the owner of the house stopped by. His name was Henry. He brought bread, milk, and honey. He spoke quietly, almost in a whisper, and kept listening to the forest outside the windows. He warned us not to rush and made it clear that haste didn't take root in these places.
Over the next few days, we began our work. We went from house to house, spoke with the elderly, recorded stories. Nearly every conversation circled back to the same rules. It's better not to go out at night. The forest doesn't belong to humans after dark, and you shouldn't call out to anyone once night falls. On the 3rd day, she began to appear in the stories. Not directly, at first in hints. People spoke about someone they used to visit more often, and now only as a last resort. No one said her name. They used only a cautious, abbreviated she. The one most interested was Ethan, the youngest among us. He listened more carefully than the others, took more notes, kept returning to the same questions. In one conversation, an elderly woman said something that stayed with me. People go to her not because she comforts them, but because she listens. That evening, it started to rain. The forest made a dull, steady sound, as if it were speaking to itself. That was when Ethan decided to go to her. He said it calmly, without drama, as if he were talking about a short walk. The next morning, he was gone. His belongings were gone too, except for his phone, which lay untouched on the table. At first, we didn't panic. Then we waited. Then we went looking for him. A path appeared in the forest where there had only been moss before. It looked as if it had always existed and had simply allowed itself to be seen. We followed it until we reached the house. It stood strangely, not quite on the ground, but on roots. Smoke rose from the chimney. She came outside on her own. We didn't need to ask anything. It was clear she knew why we were there. From her words, we understood that Ethan had indeed been there. He spoke for a long time, carefully, attentively, and then he left, to a place where it was quieter for him. Inside the house, it was warm. A white cat lay by the stove. Its gaze was far too thoughtful to be comfortable. She made it clear that she didn't keep people. She wasn't a cage. She was a door. We left with nothing. The search lasted 2 more days. We called out, shouted, combed through the forest. The only answer was the sound of branches and wind. On the 3rd night, I woke up with the feeling that someone was watching me. In the corner of the room sat the same white cat. It looked at me calmly, almost as if it recognized me. We left the next morning. Officially, Ethan is listed as missing. There were documents, reports, procedures. Unofficially, we stopped talking to one another. 3 months later, I dreamed of that house for the first time. In the dream, I was already inside. The stove was burning. She stood by the window and said that Ethan hadn't disappeared. He had simply gone somewhere where words no longer hurt. After that, a strange calm entered my life. My thoughts grew quieter. Decisions became easier, and that frightened me more than anything else. I started reviewing our notes and realized something. She didn't give answers. She changed formulations. People didn't go to her for advice. They went to rewrite themselves. 6 months later, I went back. The village recognized me. Henry looked at me for a long time and said that places like this rarely let people go completely. The path appeared again. The house was waiting. She said I wanted to understand the price. And she explained that the price is always the same. Only what a person considers payment ever changes. Ethan exists. He has simply become quieter. She made it clear that I could stay as well, and if I chose to leave, my words would become heavier. When I asked who she was, the answer was simple. She was the place where people stop arguing with themselves. I left before dawn. Several years have passed since then. I no longer search for what disappears. Sometimes people vanish, not because the world is cruel, but because being yourself is simply too loud. And if you ever hear about a place where no one tries to fix you or save you or comfort you, but only listens, think twice. Sometimes silence is not peace. It's a form of agreement.